As you probably know, every year the leaders from around the world meet in New York at the UN to discuss major global issues. It's basically Comic-Con for diplomats. This year's General Assembly is going to be extra special, though, because it's President Trump's first. Yeah, and just in case world leaders weren't completely familiar with him, this weekend, President Trump on Twitter decided to reintroduce himself.
An early morning Twitter spree by President Trump is sparking controversy tonight.
President Trump is being slammed for his use of Twitter this weekend.
President Trump appears to have found a new nickname for the North Korean leader. He tweeted this morning, "I spoke with President Moon of South Korea last night, asked him how Rocket Man is doing. Long gas lines forming in North Korea, too bad."
It's great to know that if America is ever in a war of bitchiness, President Trump's got it covered. Ooh, too bad, Rocket Man. We've tried diplomacy, now we've got to try sass. Unlock the sass codes. Wouldn't it be fun if that was a way you could fight? Because instead of nuclear weapons, you had sass. It's like, you ready? Unlock them. But there's no key. You're just like, yeah. It's just be strange. I will say this. We know Trump is definitely taking Kim Jong-un seriously now because he's officially given him a nickname. Yeah? You realize he only does that with all his greatest enemies. Low energy Jeb, Little Marco, Lying Ted. We'll know when Bob Mueller is about to indict Trump for collusion because he'll suddenly start calling him Fake Sam Waterston.
The United States has great strength and patience, but if it is forced to defend itself or its allies, we will have no choice but to totally destroy North Korea. Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime.
Okay, I don't know what's more insane. The fact that Donald Trump just stood in front of the United Nations and threatened to wipe out a country of 25 million people, or the fact that he followed that up with Rocket Man. Like, you're gonna follow it up with like a little catchphrase joke? It's like walking into a crowded space, pulling out a gun and being like, "Did I do that?" Yeah, you did. It's a new year, people, which means everyone is working on their resolutions. For me, it's all the normal ones. You know, get out to the gym more, stop giving people Ebola, read more books. And apparently, President Trump's New Year's resolution was, I should spend more time on Twitter.
The president unloading in his first day back here at the White House. 16 tweets, mainly a mixture of taunts and threats.
President Trump raised the temperature in his duel with Kim Jong-un, who had boasted of having a nuclear button on the desk in his office. Will someone from his depleted and food-starved regime please inform him, the president wrote, that I too have a nuclear button, but it is a much bigger and more powerful one than his, and my button works.
You know, I know that Donald Trump is trying to be menacing here, but all I hear is a really catchy pop song. And it's like, my button brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's bigger than yours. Damn right, it's better than yours. If you had a supercomputer that could run a simulation of 1 billion ways, you know, to find the stupidest possible way to get into a nuclear war, this tweet is what would come up every single time. There are some things that Twitter just isn't appropriate for. Because just take a step back. Take a step back and think about what pressing the button would actually mean. Hundreds of thousands of people incinerated instantly, and they would be the lucky ones. Millions more would die horribly in the next few weeks, while any survivors would be left to suffer in the desolate world that is choked by poison ash. That's not for Twitter, people. At the very least, that deserves a Tumblr post. Trump is in a bad way. They found his lawyer's secret tapes, and it turns out that the FBI did have a valid reason to investigate his people. Plus, the president just saw this really disturbing video of a waitress body slamming a perfectly nice customer. He's having a bad time. It's a full-on barrage of problems. So late last night, Trump reacted by grabbing his tweet box and creating a problem for all of us.
Breaking news, because overnight, the president threatening war with Iran, language that raises new concerns.
President Trump fired off this threat to Iranian President Rouhani: never ever threaten the United States again, or you will suffer consequences, the likes of which few throughout history have ever suffered before.
He was in all caps, which means he was yelling back at Iran.
What? What Why is he explaining caps lock to Fox viewers? They're old, they're not Amish. Like, come on. He's like, now there's also a yellow face with a smile on it. It's not a real person. That's a... But yes, President Trump has made an all-caps threat to destroy another country. And remember, this is the same way he threatened fire and fury on North Korea, yeah? And then 6 months later, totally caved to Kim Jong-un, yeah? So there's a good chance that in a few months, we'll see Trump saluting Iran and America will be under Sharia law. Yeah, he'll be like, I gave Iran everything they wanted, folks, and now there will be peace, inshallah. After Syrian President Bashar al-Assad attacked his own people with chemical weapons last week, the world has been waiting to see if President Trump would respond with military action. And because this is a decision that could lead to an all-out war, the president announced his decision with all the gravitas it demanded.
President Trump is up and firing off tweets about the situation in Syria.
Russia vows to shoot down any and all missiles fired at Syria. Get ready, Russia, because they will be coming. Nice and new and smart.
It's hard to see how this is anything but the President of the United States declaring war on Twitter.
I feel like we joked about this, and now it's become real. Because when Trump got elected, we were like, he's gonna start a war on Twitter, ha ha ha. And then before he got elected, we were like, he's gonna become president, ha ha ha. Yeah, it turns out every joke about Trump is just a headline that hasn't happened yet. And also, why does Trump tweet so weird? These missiles are nice and new and smart? It sounds like he's trying to fix them up with the missiles. It's like he's saying to the Russians, look, I know you don't like blind dates, but these missiles, they're really nice, really smart. Just come, no pressure, it's just a launch, come on. And now, a lot of people have pointed out that Trump used to mock President Obama for telegraphing his military decisions in advance. And now he's doing the exact same thing. But I mean, let's be honest, at this point, Trump's hypocrisy is so unsurprising, it's not even fun anymore. Like, you see it coming, it happens, and you go, yep. You know, it's like someone handed you one of those novelty cans of nuts with the snake inside, but it was actually labeled novelty can of nuts with snake inside. It's like, surprise. All over the news, the big story is still about the US killing of Qasem Soleimani, Iran's top general and hottie who used to have a body. Because hate him or love him, you have to admit the man was good looking. I mean, look at it. Look at him. He's like a terrorist George Clooney. Yeah, he should be named People Magazine's sexiest man who's no longer alive. Yeah, take that, Abraham Lincoln. So now that Iran's top commander is dead, where does that leave everybody else? Well, let's catch up on all the latest developments in our ongoing segment, Middle East War Part 2. This time, it's Persianal. Now, aside from the million or so people at his funeral yesterday, everyone else agrees that Soleimani was a bad guy, responsible for death and destruction around the world. He oversaw attacks on US soldiers in Iraq, he helped prop up Bashar al-Assad in Syria, and he was the executive producer of Cats. All horrible things. But as bad as Soleimani was, not everyone agrees that killing him like this was a good idea. The same way things only got worse when America got rid of Saddam Hussein, or when America got rid of Muammar Gaddafi, or when America got rid of gluten. Because I don't know what it actually is. All I know is once it was gone, everything tasted like shit. So there are a lot of people questioning Trump's decision, and even some Republicans are lashing out.
Republican Senator Rand Paul said the killing of Soleimani is the death of diplomacy with Iran.
You would have to be brain dead to believe that we tear up the agreement, we put an embargo on you, and we kill your major general, and they're just going to crawl back to the table and say, what do you want, America?
Excuse me, Senator? How dare you suggest that America's president is brain dead? That is so insulting. Mr. President, why don't you go ahead and educate this fool?
President Trump defended himself on Monday, saying the United States is a lot safer now.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what the response is, if any. But you've seen what I said our response will be.
Okay, Rand Paul. I, like your barber, owe you an apology. Now look, the truth is, it's not that surprising that Trump's response is so muddled and confusing, because he's Trump. What is interesting is how the entire administration seems to be just as confused about every aspect of this situation. For instance, starting with the rationale for why they killed Soleimani in the first place.
The Trump administration is scrambling to explain the two words that led to all of this: imminent threat.
Was the justification this imminent threat?
Chuck, it's never one thing. You've been at this a long time. The American people are smart too. It's never one moment. It's never one instance. It's a collective. It's a full situational awareness of risk.
If you're looking for imminence, you need to look no further than the days that led up to the strike that was taken against Soleimani.
When you say the attacks were imminent, how imminent were they? Were we talking about days? Were we talking about weeks?
If you're an American in the region, days and weeks, this is not something that's relevant.
Okay, hold up, man. You can't say the threat is imminent. Then when people ask how imminent, you're like, well, time is irrelevant. No, because that's specifically what imminent means. Like, he's acting like we're crazy for asking a question. An attack was imminent, okay? It's like, really, Pompeo? How imminent? Jeez, you guys are obsessed with numbers. Get off my back, Rain Man. So America is on the cusp of war, and already the most basic question, why are we doing it, has been unclear at best. But the fallout has been handled just as clumsily. Because remember, Iraq's government was so mad about this drone strike happening on their soil that they asked America to leave the country for good. Well, yesterday, the US government made two stunning announcements in the span of a couple of hours. First, they were withdrawing its troops from Iraq. And second, forget that thing that we first just said.
Adding to the confusion Monday, the Pentagon circulated a letter announcing a withdrawal of U.S. forces from Iraq. But the Pentagon later said there is no decision to leave Iraq, and it was just a draft.
It was a mistake, an honest mistake.
Yeah, that's right. The Pentagon released an announcement saying they were pulling out the troops, and then they were like, backsies. I didn't take my hand off the piece. That's not the move. Like, how do you send out a draft military announcement by mistake? These people control nuclear weapons, and they can't even handle Microsoft Outlook. How do you do this, huh? It's like, all right, it's time to bomb Iran. Oh, shit, I sent them a referral code to Grubhub. Sorry, guys. So it's not clear why the administration chose to kill Soleimani now. And it's not clear if the troops are leaving Iraq or not. But one thing's for sure, they also don't seem to know what they would bomb next.
The Trump administration struggles to put out a cohesive message about how the United States plans to respond to Iran's latest threat.
The president is threatening to strike 52 sites in Iran, including cultural ones, which would violate international law. Senior administration officials either publicly contradicted Mr. Trump or said that he had not said what he said.
The American people should know that every target that we strike will be a lawful target, and it will be a target designed at the singular mission of protecting and defending America.
President Trump vowing he's prepared to strike back, though he's now backing down from threats to target Iran's cultural sites.
We are, according to various laws, supposed to be very careful with their cultural heritage. And you know what? If that's what the law is, I like to obey the law.
What? I like to obey the law? No, you have to obey the law. Trump makes the law sound like it's an optional topping at Chipotle. Bitch, it's the Geneva Convention, not Pico de Gallo. I like to obey the law. But come on, how does this administration never seem to be on the same page? Trump says they'll bomb cultural sites. His administration says they won't. Trump says he will. They say he won't. Now he says he won't. It's almost like they have a group chat, but Trump never gets the message because he's on Android. That's what it seems like. So, the truth is, as much as we insult the Trump administration, at least they're learning from America's previous mistakes. Because in 2003, the Bush administration had a plan to go into Iraq, but no exit strategy. So now the Trump administration is like, I see where we went wrong. This time, no entrance strategy. Lesson learned.